Before I let you go, Blue Heron Festival. You bought property out on the old Waits Road, and then you talked a little bit about it, how you developed the property in Sherman, but today it's well known as the Blue Heron Festival. Your daughter is running it. What's the little backstory on that? Did Julie and just one day say, Dad, I'd like to help develop this land?
Well, we'll go way back. It was a campground called Newt Spinks.
Newt Spinks.
And Gene Cotter came around one day saying, I got this property for sale, might be of interest to you. And by myself, I was not, but a fellow was around doing some work for us named Jim Solinger. And I don't know how he learned about it. I probably told him about it. We went out, took a look at the campground. They had like 37 campsites. And we saw the income and expenses of the prior owner, whose name was George Cornell. Not the big George Cornell at Chautauqua, another George Cornell. Yeah. We decided to buy it. So, well, I guess maybe I decided to buy it. So we bought it, and Jim was going to do the handiwork, and his wife Debbie was going to be there managing it, doing all the knickknacks. Before our first season, they were separated. And the good plans of cooperation sort of didn't work. And after our third year, the cost of liability insurance was more than the income. Well, I think the seller knew what was coming with the insurance premiums. So we just closed it. It sat vacant for years and years. And then daughter Julie came out of Colorado and eventually came home after a divorce, wanted a place to live, and she was into camping. She had a motor home, and she said, don't you have some place out in the country that maybe I could park my motor home? And we went out there. She said, this is beautiful. I want this. I want this. I want this as a place to park my motor home. So, of course, we let her do it. And that was when we found out that all the electric cables we had put in for the campsites, somebody has stolen them. Copper. So we put in more, we put them in underground. And at a certain point, she said, what about having a little musical festival out here? Do you have any objection? No. She met a fellow named Dave Tidquist, and he was into music. And they said, we'll have a barbecue. No, nothing big, just a barbecue. And they maybe had 70 or 80 people. And it worked, and they said, well, why don't we do some more? And they did, and did, until 2 years ago. And they were up to like 6,000 people. And then the virus hit, and that ended the Blue Heron. It's not going to be held this year either. They've gone into a camping business, and I don't know how it happened, but they got written up in a national magazine last year as the best, newest campgrounds in New York State. So now they have a program of camping. They're connected with Airbnb. And every Saturday they have a program of music. They're missing one Saturday, but they'll get some of their band. They had a band last Saturday. They'll have 3 bands this coming Saturday. They serve food, and they're doing everything they can to get money in to pay their bills. The bills don't go away because your business went away. And they have bought the land next door, and they have a group, I think, of about 50 people that are stockholders in this corporation. And they're from all over, not many from around here. People who used to just go to the Blue Heron, they like the area, and they were happy with the idea of trying to have a development. So if you want to get together and rent this house, it's available. $425 a night, 4 bedrooms, owned by Doug Hay, if you knew of Doug.
I know of it.
Okay, beautiful house, nice land. So they're working on that. They've got cattle, and 3 of them went to the butcher this morning. They bought 7 more about 4 days ago. They're going to buy another 7. They raise chickens, 500 to 600. They grow shiitake mushrooms, big
business.
labor intensive, and garlic and tomatoes and also. If you see what farmers do on a small scale, it's a terrible life. You just have to love farming.
Yeah.
It never ends. You ask them to come around and do something. I can't. I got to move the cows. Can't do this. Got to do that. But they love it, so that's good. And the man that I spoke of that spoke so many languages, he and I decided to buy some land across the street from Julie. And at a certain point, our youngest daughter, Andrea, she learned about that, and she said, I want to be in that. So instead of a 50-50, it was 40-40, and Andrea had 20%. And I did the work. Jim's over in Germany. And every year we had to put money in. I'm getting tired of this putting money in. I said, well, we either have to put money in or do nothing. And we can never get the place so it's going to be marketable or usable unless we put money in. And I'm doing the labor. All you're helping is 40% of the material. It still didn't make him happy. So we eventually bought him out. And eventually, Andrea has gotten part of her inheritance already. She now owns all of it. And after I leave you today, I'm going out to mow. I have, people think I'm nuts, and I don't know who's going to see this, but on the land that the 3 of us bought, it would take me 22 hours to mow it with a 90-inch cut behind me. That's an awful lot of bouncing. And I used to work, 6-7 hours. Then it got down. Now I can only mow for about 2 hours. The back says I hurt. You didn't see me walk, but my hip hurts. I hurt all over. But I love it. I go out sometimes with a tractor, and I go up in the woods, and I park. And then, cheep, cheep. Birds come around, deer, turkey. It's so peaceful and nice. So that's a project. And Julie and Steve have got their projects across the street. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
I got friends that are bored. They don't know what to do. My problem has been I've had too much to do.
Yeah. Who was Newt Spix? Did that name anything to you other than it was the name of the
No,
campground?
I never heard the name until they said he developed the campsite. He was the one that had the excavation, so they now have a large pond, 6-acre pond. But I knew nothing about him besides
It
that.
was always, you drove down, and then on that same Waits Quarters Road, there was a store. Kind of as you're heading towards Panama, and there was a convenience store.
On the left-hand side.
Yeah, left-hand side, exactly.
Well, I'll tell you, 1955, I graduated from college on a Sunday. And I came home, I was going in the Marine Corps in a few months, but I had to have a job. In our family, you just don't sit around. So I went around Monday looking for a job. Somehow, I got down to Jamestown Cold Storage down in Brooklyn Square area. And I met the owner, and he said, well, when can you start? And I looked at the clock, and I said, I can be back here in about an hour. He said, no, come in tomorrow morning. I became a route salesman. Grocery store after grocery store after grocery store. And I went to that grocery store out in Panama. And now it's owned by an Amish, almost everything's owned by Amish families out there now. And I had to price everything, and I learned where K-Bob, New York is.
That's right. The K-Bob Bears. K-Bob Bears in, outside Stockton.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a little store that.
Yeah,
made
I went to
bears.
that store. Yeah. Well, I replaced a man. When the men went on vacation, he took their route, and I had taken his old route, so I didn't have to learn but one route. But I was doing that until I went to Quantico.